Alright guys, it is Tuesday, June 9th, just before 6:30. I am here for Esther Pauls, Pauls in the Park, and the topic is police safety.
And then the last one is my Casa Park. So I've done 4 parks. And this is my card. You put it in your fridge and you can get all the numbers right away. Okay. And then you'll remember my face. No. I think it's easy sometimes when you have it, you know, if you need anything to do. So we're going to wait 2 minutes and then it's the reason I'm doing this is because I want the community to know that if you have any issues, you could always approach me. And I know a lot of people call about safety, a lot of people call about traffic, and I am so happy that we have 2 of the finest people here from crime management, and they'll introduce themselves, and then we have somebody from traffic from our city. And actually Mike came to the last meeting and it was pouring and cold, you know. And so it was nice that he said, "Oh, it's to do with traffic. I would really like to,
Don't worry about it.
You know, be here." So I know a few more people are going to be coming. So we're going to start with, first of all, the one comment I always get is people speed all the time. Why aren't you there? Kind of that's the number one. They're speeding in my road. Where are they? Where are they? So we call you and say, you know, come. So if you could explain how it works first, and then we'll ask.
Sure, it's a regular. So I'm Dave. That's Rob. We are the crime managers for the Mountain Division.
Yeah.
This is what is a crime manager? A crime manager, we deal with community issues, complaints. You know, if we have a problem, let's say at Lime Ridge Mall with air spray and things like that, we look at the resources that we have available and how we can deploy the resources that we have to address the problems going on within our community. Right. So Rob and I have from Pembroke all the way up to Flamborough. There's 8 wards, and we break those wards down by beats. So it's different. We don't have one ward officer. We have many beat officers that kind of intersect with the wards and how the city's broken down. So part of that is part of our role is we liaise with the councillor's offices. So as a traffic complaint comes in, and they're very frequent, we will look and we will share that with our beat officers to say, hey, there's a complaint here. We also use technology and speak with Mike's office if there's data to support the need for police. We certainly look at that, and we'll work closely with our traffic safety unit as well. You know, they have resources officers assigned to traffic safety, and that's their job. They respond to collisions, serious collisions, and they do enforcement in areas that the data shows where we're having serious collisions and we need to enforce. The issue that we hear all the time is, why don't I ever see the police? Where are they? Et cetera, right? So the reality is there's only so many of us. We can't be everywhere at the same time. So that's kind of one of the responses that the councillor's office would hear is, thank you. We're taking the feedback, and we will notify the beat officers or traffic safety for attention as they're able, right? Because on top of the community complaints going on, they're also priority response, right? So when people need the police, I mean, we'll hear sirens here tonight. The officers know where they're needed, right? So
That's good.
hopefully that answered.
Yeah. So and then I'm going to go to you, Mike. When someone says people are speeding, we need to call the police. What are some things that the city does in order for the speeding to not, to happen or to reduce it?
Yeah, we collaborate with the police and share information constantly. So we meet with the traffic safety unit quarterly, my roadway safety team, and then the traffic safety unit, and we're talking about all the efforts we jointly put together. From an infrastructure perspective, we will do studies and analysis when we get concerns from the public, whether it's about speeding or traffic signals or what have you, and then we'll assess what the issue is by using data collection and some other things. And through that process, if we identify an issue, then we'll look to solve that issue by installing some type of infrastructure. So speeding on a neighborhood street, we'll often put in a speed cushion, for example, to help calm that. Speed cushions are very effective at forcing people to drive at an appropriate speed, as opposed to a stop sign, which we don't use for speed control because that's more for access of an intersection, and as everyone probably can relate, it's optional if drivers actually want to stop for a stop sign, as opposed to a speed cushion, they must drive over it. We use data just like the police do, and the city has a philosophy that's born around Vision Zero, which is that we don't want to have any fatal or injury collisions in the city. So part of that is we're really focusing on where those types of collisions happen, and then we're looking to intervene proactively by using information to go and change the city's infrastructure in sometimes small ways with pavement markings and signage, but sometimes in rather large ways where we have to rebuild an entire roadway to do that. Upper Wentworth is a good example where it had a safety-based audit based on a number of fatalities that happened unfortunately on that roadway, and it's been reconstructed, and that safety-based audit really informed what the new design is for Upper Wentworth. The best thing that we can do is to build roadways that help prevent people from driving in ways that we don't want them to, and then that really saves resources from a police perspective, and you know, that's the first line of defense is make sure a road isn't conducive to creating an issue in the first place. If it is, try to deal with that, and then if not, if we're really desperate, then we will seek some assistance from police to aid our work as well.
That's great. So I've asked a couple of questions, but you could ask others besides, you know, speeding, about crime, whatever. Yes.
I have a question. So, like, you mentioned like resources and the priority of your resources and how they're delegated, right?
Yep.
How involved is like the Hamilton Wentworth Police Department in ensuring that the social functions that are like below you guys are also like strongly established? So like when resources get pulled, like safe injection sites, for this is just like the most recent example, when those resources get pulled, the people within the community that are working in those resources are kind of able to like take care of a certain like part of the demographic, like overdoses on a regular basis or whatever you want in that. And then what ends up happening is like by default now people call 911 and want the police to come to deal with situations that aren't necessarily like police issues, right? Like, so how, like, is there a connection? I know you guys have Coast, and you have like one person for
Social Navigator we have as well.
So like, is it just like one person for each? Like, how many people are employed in that category? Because there's a huge increase in like the need for mental health supports and addiction supports, like in Hamilton. Downtown is a completely obvious like example of that. And so, like, does the police department advocate on behalf of themselves so that they can have the supports like on those other sort of little like small side roads established and strong, so that you can police and then so there can be like a more cohesive.
Sure, and that's what some of the like and Rob actually worked in there in the crisis response branch, but anytime we can, like, the police aren't the answer to everything, right? Our leadership has been very clear in that. We aren't experts in mental health. You know, we are trained, and there's going to be a fight here. But yeah, we recognize, you know, we aren't the answer. So I'm sure the most appropriate resource, right? So in terms of, I think you touched on the number of people that work in Social Navigator or crisis response. I don't have that number for you. I can give you a card and see the answer. But those conversations, you know, our partnerships with SACOs, again. I can name off all the partnerships. It's discussions that are ongoing. We said, okay, here's the number, and we're done with the conversation.
So those teams will actually follow a squad. So I think there's probably a minimum of 4 that are with like MSERT and Coast. Okay. And then Social Navigator, I'm not sure what the numbers they have, but they're also not bound by the radio like we are as much. So they're directly for those type of calls, like mental health calls.
So I guess like my question is, and you guys might not know this, but like how like efficient and assertive is like the people that are in charge of the police department in advocating for the foundation of those establishments to be strong? Because if they're completely removed, it's like by automatic default people are going to call you, you know. Like is there a good bridge of like stuff that happens there?
I would say
Just
yes.
curious.
Again, I don't work in the commander's offices where these conversations, how often they happen, but absolutely, like in terms of partnership, anytime again we can recognize we aren't the expert in this field, and there's a conversation we had that it's something the Hamilton Police are fully supportive of.
Yeah, definitely, yes. Can you tell us how many more police officers we have on the Corps, like in the BIA, the 3 divisions?
Yeah, so
how many we've hired?
So it's something that's in the works now. What it's going to be called, I know downtown it's called Corps. We don't necessarily have a Corps up on the mountains, but Division 3, my understanding is we're going to get 8 officers that have been approved in the next budget cycle. So I believe they're going to start 4 and then 4 in January. So there'll be 8 total that will be for Division 3.
Does anybody else have
And
questions?
sorry, those officers were policing for just Ward 7?
No, that's for Division 3. So
the whole division.
okay, Division 3 goes from the far edge of Flamborough to Bimbra.
Okay, so 8 officers for that entire.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I think how they'll do it-
Additional officers. So not necessarily the priority response piece, but more what issues are going on in the community. Right now, Rob and I rely on, so I'll use Limeridge as an example.
Yeah.
Around Christmas time, and this was all very public information where we saw the trend of robberies at jewelry stores, smash and grabs happening not just in Hamilton but throughout the GTA, right? So the community, the public needs to feel safe when they're going to the mall, right? So a huge increase of proactive police presence in the mall. And again, as officers, they still, the resources still need to be, if you call 911 or somebody's being hurt, we need to send officers to those calls. It's a little distracting, but hopefully those 8 officers again will be in addition to the priority response.
And I don't know if everybody knows, but I think I heard that in the mall downtown, there's going to be an office,
I heard that too.
Yeah, I believe so.
A substation.
a substation, because of the downtown area, so that people can feel safe. So there is going to be added a
Yeah,
substation.
that's what I've heard. I don't know any of the details about
Yeah.
that yet or how they're going to utilize it.
Yeah. So yes,
I think, I don't know, 3 questions, all
Right.
different.
Let's break it
Um,
down.
so my brain's going, okay, so the first question is related to gun violence and the increase in gun violence. And can you speak to, like a strategy that you are working on to decrease the gun violence or to find the people that are bringing guns in? Like, how is that? That's the first question. So let's start with that.
I mean, it's just in terms of a strategy. I can't speak to a specific strategy, but we have units within the police service within our investigative services, gangs and weapons enforcement, like all under our kind of major drugs and gangs umbrella, and our shooting response team. The shooting response was developed within the last few years, which is a full-time, so oftentimes shootings aren't, an isolated, there's retaliatory and there's linkages and things like that need to be investigated. So there was a need that was identified there within the past few years. So now that there's, and I think there's probably 3 detective constables and a sergeant in charge of that. So again, constantly, we have the resources that we have and we have to work with those, right? But it doesn't mean that further conversations aren't being had about the needs of the city as it continues to grow and what needs to change. But in terms of a specific strategy, and I truthfully, I don't think the answer is just relying on the police to come up with a strategy, right? We talked about things like community meetings downtown and recognizing that there was an issue that an increase in violence there, right? So what can the police having a role, but everybody, all the different partnerships and communities.
And the data from those teams actually does help us with where we can deploy things, how we can use our resources as well. So they are a big help in that way.
Yes.
And we don't look at, so Rob and I work very closely with our divisional analysts, the crime analysts, so we reviews every report that comes into the Hamilton Police for this division, and Rob and I are two people, we don't know every trend that's going on, right?
For sure.
We're on the phone a lot, we're sending emails a lot, we are looking again at what's going on, but the analyst is constantly reviewing, okay, tell me what's going on in this area. Hey, Dave and Rob, we're having an issue with, and this is not specific to Ward 7, but we're having an issue in this neighborhood with thefts from vehicles. Kids going to try car door handles, people trying car door handles overnight. So,
Perfect, thank you.
so
Yeah, I have some. I've
that's
read
an
some
everyday thing.
For sure. I've read success stories as well in the Spectator, so
Yeah.
that's been really helpful to see as well,
Yeah.
that things are happening.
Yeah.
So the second question goes back to the speeding, but like more like the street racers, the ones that are, in the middle of the night just deciding to go down any
Sure.
Upper Wentworth, Upper Wellington, Upper Sherman, Mohawk.
Yep, we hear about them all.
I'm
Yeah.
sure you do.
Yeah, and sorry, go ahead.
Well, okay, so there's kind of maybe a second question. So the first question is, like, what are some of the protocols you use to try and stop that, obviously within the resources you have? And the second question is kind of embedded in that, which would be, what is the role of, just say, technology to help
Yeah. That's so two part there, like, and the role, the responsibility is everybody, right? So just because I hear a complaint about Upper Wentworth overnight, right? That's information I would share with the beat officers who are working at the time while I'm sleeping. Hopefully everybody else here is asleep. But it doesn't mean that those officers are limited to go do speed enforcement on Upper Wentworth. They're police officers. Rob and I were driving over here today, and somebody ripped by us, so we stopped them, right? So, officers are out there. They're very well trained. They know, and I'll tell you, our enforcement numbers are. The officers are out there working. It's traffic enforcement is one of our many roles. I don't know if that answered the question. If it didn't, please.
Yeah, no, it does, for sure.
And then in terms of technology, and I believe the councilor's aware of this. Probably about 6 months, we've had a new device new to us, but technology that's out there, other services have used it in terms of it helps verify complaints, right? So let's say I hear Upper Sherman, people are street racing, right? Overnight, I hear the vehicles are very loud, right? But I'm not, I mean, if you ask me, every car that drives by my house when my kids are outside is driving too fast for my liking, right? Doesn't necessarily mean that they're speeding.
Yes.
So, it's not like we're putting Big Brother surveillance cameras up there, but it's a thing that collects data, right?
Yes.
So there's only one. I only have one of them. Rob and I only have one of them to put out. And you've heard how big the division is, but it's that database, right? So I know Mike and his team have technology that exists to do the same. This is just because we hear about so many different areas, right? We can look at the data and we can say, okay, yeah, speeding is an issue, or no, it's a perceived issue, but the data says it's not.
Right.
So again, that way we can try and be efficient with where we're sending our resources to the places that they need to be, that the data supports. That makes sense. Doesn't mean that it's not foolproof. We know that maybe we put it up in a certain area and then there's no speeding, but it picks up the following week, right? And we're well aware of that. It's it's a thing that'll help us say between 2 and 3 in the afternoon. Yeah, speeding was really bad, and that's been a kind of a pattern, right? So we look to those patterns and say, okay, those resources that we have, you need to be here at this time. Right? So,
And I do notice too, we can be doing our speeding enforcement and things like that, but once we leave, people know as well, right? We can do it, we can crush it for a day or two, and then there's another area we go to, and by the time we get back, it's back at it. It's an issue everywhere.
I live on the corner of Mass and 6th Street. I can count 8 to 20 cars go right through that.
And
Go away, and we've been asking for a flash.
Oh, Mike, you're on.
We've
You're
been
on.
asking for a flash for 5 years.
A flashing red light on top of the stop sign?
Something.
Yeah, we so
Yellow or something.
So we're guided by the Ministry of Transportation, and they publish something called the Ontario Traffic Manual. When it comes to flashing beacons on top of stop signs, they're meant to be used in very specific applications when there's typically visibility issues. We don't want to use flashing lights in residential areas. The minute we put them in, we're going to get complaints about people with flashing red lights.
I
in their
don't think
bedroom
we
and everything.
would. These people are sick and tired of it. My ex
got ruined a brand new car.
But I can tell you though, people who are running stop signs, it's not because they don't know a stop sign's there. Because in Hamilton, we have stop signs on both sides of the road. Most municipalities only have one. We put something called tiger tails on them. We put pavement markings. It's very visible as far as where people are making the poor decision of not following.
Every driver out there got their license and went through that. A stop sign, here's what you do, right? Every adult makes decisions for how they
Are
carry
you
the sign,
in
right?
charge of speed bumps?
Yes.
Well, why don't you put a couple, and mostly on our street? It's ridiculous.
Well, we accept requests. We get thousands of requests every year.
And you email me, and then we'll do a study on it.
And we do an assessment.
And we need everybody to agree on the street, and we'll do it. Did you have a question?
I just had a follow-up about the stop signs. At this time of year particularly, some of them are impeded by the growth of our lovely greenery in the city.
Yeah.
How do we go about, like, not necessarily in our ward, but anywhere, like notifying? Is it something that we notify your team?
Oh, yeah.
How do we?
Absolutely. If there's ever any issues, say graffiti or stop sign or signage that's knocked down or damaged, the best thing to do is contact the city. We do regular patrols, and we patrol the city based on the class of the road. So we're out on the parkways multiple times a day. In residential areas, our level of service, which is provided by a different section that I run, is once a month. We're looking for all kinds of things, road issues, everything. So in the meantime, especially during this year, things are going really quickly. So if you do see something obscured, there's a bunch of different ways you could email the councillor's office. There's a new portal that the city has, which is really good because you don't have to, wait on the call line, on like the 39th or whatever. So it's my.hamilton.ca, and there's a portal, and then that will come to my team. And if we have depending on the type of signage, a stop sign has to be, we have to resolve that kind of issue as soon as practicable because it's a safety-based issue. So if you do see anything, then by all means, please let us know, and we're happy to.
I've got lots of cards you could email me,
Yeah, I honestly, I prefer to go about the portal because then it's flagging the right team right away.
That's fine. And if you don't get an answer, call me.
Most often, I think people might reach out to a councillor because they don't know who at the city. There's so many different departments. It's so multi-layered. Like you're saying, and we'll share it with this team or that team. I don't know all that stuff.
Yeah, the portal is a really good new addition for us because you don't need to worry about that. You just enter what your complaint is, and then it gets filtered internally. Even after hours too, we had one last night where it was a stop sign was knocked down and an email was sent. So in those instances, we have staff that work 7 hours, 7 days a week. So they would have gone out if that came through the portal or the call center. We would have gone out and fixed it. But some staff don't work all night long, so that waited until the next morning. So even in the middle of the night or whatever after hours, that's the great thing with the portal or the call center is that it gets dispatched sometimes. Right away.
I just had hip surgery.
I want to ask people, and I want you to ask, these little motorcycles, they're called, I don't know.
E-scooters?
E-scooters and all that. There is a big problem. Because I couldn't believe it. I was going door knocking for this and that. You should see 3 of them in the middle of the road with these things, and they make loud noise. So are they allowed to go?
Those are those little ones.
They're called are they do they need a license, or why are they on the road?
Some of those, the electric scooters, they don't need a license.
On the
ones that
road?
kids are, on the road is where they're allowed to be ridden. On the sidewalk, the city bylaw says you can't. Under 16, you're not allowed on one. Again, it'd be.
But when they take the whole road, what do we do? Like it's a problem.
Yeah, it shouldn't be the case. That we hear every day right now, and it's same this time last year about the kids on the e-scooters and the 10, 11-year-olds getting them from their parents. And
7 and 9-year-olds.
Yeah. And part of this is education, right? Well, and again, because my kid wants something for Christmas or your kid wants something for Christmas, doesn't necessarily mean that you've done the research or it's just my kid's a good kid and I'm buying something they've asked for, right? But again, we're seeing, I think the number of complaints that we're getting.
And did they need a helmet? Is it
Yes,
a law?
yes, they do.
Most of them don't have
So anybody under 16 can't be on them. Anybody between 16 and 18 must wear a helmet. So again, for us to do enforcement, we don't have the resources to stop every kid on the scooter, right? So Rob and I are working with the traffic safety unit right now, actually, for the past several weeks when the complaints started to roll in. Education's a big thing, right? So if you hear, hey, you know, I just bought my kid an e-scooter, but they're 12, and you hear the messaging, they can't actually be on them, right? Hopefully the education piece will help. Well, we know it's not going to solve it, but then we look to like education and then the enforcement piece, right? Yeah.
But they're not scooters actually. These things are called, they're like little motorcycles.
Oh, like a little
Okay.
e-bikes?
So if it's a dirt bike, if it's a noisy dirt bike,
They're called road bikes or something.
Okay.
I called John, my son, and
Yeah.
he says, no, they need a license. It's a little motorcycle.
Yeah,
It's a real one.
so any like motorcycle,
Yeah.
dirt bike,
Yeah.
ATV, the bylaw says they are not to be driven in this on city property, which is roads that can be driven across a roadway
Right.
from private property to private property. That's,
Anyways,
yeah.
Councillor. I know.
I believe, she was.
Do you have another question?
I know just like recently, a friend of mine was telling me that like she works in another city. They just finally finished constructing like a mass response protocol because they had a major incident in their city and like a car hit a whole bunch of pedestrians all at once. And that city actually did not have like a mass response sort of thing. So they've got theirs in place just now. Do we actually have something like that in the city where everybody knows like which hospitals they're supposed to go to? Super cool. Did not know those things existed. Good to know Hamilton has one.
And then always evolving, right? Like it's not like, hey, we've got one, but things change. Right?
No. It's just actually like to
Yeah, they
like
exist.
think that it wasn't sort of like there, but it's actually a lot of detail
The
goes
city
into
has
it.
an
So
emergency operations center and.
in case there's massive something. Okay.
We have that.
Yep.
Another question. It's a question about. I see a lot of police because I do live on a.
I'm glad.
And I see a lot of police cars, but they always seem to be two police cars, only one person in each car. Is there a logic in that? Nice having two policemen in one car?
Yep, police officers, male and female, but yeah, there's pros and cons, right? So, you know, if we had the number of officers that we could ride two in every car, right, then that would be ideal. But,
Right.
but we don't have those numbers of
So
people.
you have two
But-
separate cars with two separate policemen to respond to.
Yep, and we also, we have cadets in vehicles, auxiliary officers in
Right.
vehicles, right? But yes, that's typically how they would deploy the officers are out individually. So let's say Rob and I go to a call, right? And in a call, there's an arrest, there's a bunch of paperwork that needs to be done, or we
Right.
have somebody in custody. But then another emergency 911 call comes. Well, maybe Rob can work on the paperwork and stay with that person we're obligated to
Right.
protect and take care
Maybe
of,
the own
and I
business.
can get back in the car
Okay.
and get out.
All right.
So there's one of the pros. There are cons, right?
Yeah.
It's not a perfect system, and you know,
If we could have two in a car, it would be
Right.
Right.
I seem to remember that there
Yeah.
used to be the logic,
Yeah.
there were two per car, but I can understand
and,
that you're stressed.
and visibility, right? Like visibility helps. Everybody
Absolutely.
wants to see the police car driving through their neighborhood at 3 and 4 in the morning, right?
Yeah.
But if one of us is on paperwork, that ties up the other officer. So you know,
Good enough. Okay, thank you.
that's some of the
Yeah.
thinking
That
about it.
answered that for me. Yeah.
Anybody else?
Sorry, you mentioned education. I was just wondering if there's any updates about police education in the schools. That's a great space to talk to youth, but it's also a challenging one from a historical perspective. So I'm wondering if you can speak to any of that.
Yeah, so in terms of where it's at, I can't speak to that, but I know the conversations are being had. There's a lot of people who, at our last town hall, there,
Yeah.
there's a lot of support for it, right? We're support as well, obviously, but again, we're not.
They're in talks with the school board, and it might be a different look how police go, like maybe in uniform. So, but they're in talks, and actually it's provincial mandate. They want it, So that's why they're in talks. I think Superintendent
Macione, I think, was in.
Macione, Hannah. He just told me that they sat down, they know what they're going to do, and they will be police, but they'll look different, not like what we used to.
Yeah, and I think that's important
Yeah.
to meet people
Yeah,
where they are.
where they
That's
are,
really,
and that's
really
what they're
important.
doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's really good. It's going to happen because actually about a year ago, I put a motion in to do that, And then finally the province said, yes, we need to be there because of the youth crime. Sometimes youth kids, 10, 11-year-olds, right? So,
Well, some of the youth that are
Yeah.
challenged through crime aren't actually in the schools, so you're not actually reaching them there.
yeah, that's right. Anyway, yes, you want to ask questions?
Yeah, some people, I heard in Toronto, they're allowed, they're security guards, but they have a gun and a taser. So instead of,
No.
well, he had said he carries a gun, it's a special certificate he got, you know. But
So like
Could you
a Brinks or Garda or the armored vehicles.
could you not put, because I know it's expensive to have police out of our budget. I'm just saying, could you have more security people?
No, I
I
mean,
don't know if you'd want that, really.
Well, or for dogs. Dogs can smell the drugs in all the lockers, you know?
in terms of different conversations are being had all the time. We realize policing is expensive, but our special constables, our 180 and 380 wagons, what we call them, where we look at do we need two police officers sitting down with the hospital with somebody that we have in custody or somebody's been apprehended, or can we have special constables who aren't on different roles that it doesn't have to be a police officer. Yeah. In terms of the security guard with a gun or a taser, it's not allowed.
Or even just to
if
be
you
in
hear
there,
about that,
they
please
got
call
the
us.
phone, they can call police right away.
Yeah, that's usually a private cost for a lot of organizations, and many organizations can afford
And
to
the
do
school
that.
can't afford, for the public schools to have security guards.
That
They're
goes
also
back to
limited in their
taxes, too.
duties and what they can do, right?
Right.
So you gotta think of that as well. Like they don't have the same arrest authorities as us, that would just be somebody.
It'd be nice to include that if they go to school and get these credentials. It would be able to help you guys.
Well, we're hiring a lot. So if
Police officers.
yep.
Right.
Certainly, if you know somebody that wants to be a police officer, please have them
We're
reach
recruiting,
out.
so, yeah. That's really good.
But I have incentives.
Even as we talked about that, some people say, why do we need a police officer for traffic? You know how, but they're paid duties,
Yep.
And is there a law that it has to be a police officer?
The special constables now have the authority to direct traffic, right? So that the 180, 280, again, traffic lights are out. They can go there and direct traffic. They drive it around in a police wagon that says special constable on the side of it.
But they're police officers.
They're peace officers.
And that's the same as when they're doing the works up here, they have a police officer out by the lights.
So if
That's a
it's
special constable.
if it's a paid duty, right? So let's say like Electra knows they're going to be doing a bunch
That's
of
right.
work
Yeah.
throughout the city on a certain
Yeah.
day, and they're going to shut down intersections, and they want the police to follow them.
Okay.
Well, if somebody called Rob and I and said, hey, can I have a police officer follow me around for the day? The answer is going to be no, because we need these
Right.
officers for the priority
Yeah.
response. So those companies will go through our paid duty office and arrange for. an
So we're
officer.
hired by them for that day.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
good.
an off-duty officer has elected to come in on their day off for
Right.
extra money and
Good enough, okay.
So the full cost of that paid duty officer
is
is
incurred
paid by
the-
Electra?
By the company
by the
that
company or
hires
the
us.
person who's
We use paid duty and police all the time for traffic signal maintenance, because under the Highway Traffic Act, the only people who can do traffic control through a signalized intersection are police.
Mhm.
So when we're doing maintenance, we have to shut down a traffic signal or repair it, and we get assistance from police.
So that's still my tax money paying for that, though.
Yeah, but it's a legal requirement that we have to utilize.
And the trustees, are we all gone now? They're all dismissed?
The trustees? No, I don't think so.
There's talk of it.
There's a talk, but I don't know
Nothing's
what the
happened?
province, they're still there.
It's provincial.
Yeah, it's provincial. Anybody else has about traffic or about?
Yeah.
Yes.
How has the traffic been since most of the streets downtown that were one-way have become two-way? Has that increased traffic or decreased the traffic?
I think the amount of traffic remains the same. The amount of traffic is proportional to the population and the way the city's built. So the amount of traffic's the same.
'Cause I find it a lot more traffic now that there's a lot more two-way streets, like John Street, there's more traffic. James Street, there's more traffic.
You mean
Queen
instead
Street,
of
there's more
You
traffic.
mean congestion, or
Yeah, it's just
what do you
more
mean?
congested because it used to be a one-way, now it's two-way, and you're taking lanes away. And
Have you noticed that just recently with the closure of the Sherman Cut, though?
no,
I've
this is
noticed it with the closure of the Sherman Cut specifically.
We're-
And curious about the Sherman Cut. I know that the timeline is mid-September. Are we on schedule
That's in a different group, but
We are
I
on
would
schedule.
hope so. I would hope
But you know, around that, considering the peripheral roads, everything from downtown, right? Because if people are traveling, which I do, travel from downtown up the mountain, I now can't take that access route.
Yeah.
I am super close to the Sherman Cut, so that's my preferred route at all times. So I am noticing that there's, because of the backlog of traffic, is there any sort of data that's remarking on how we can adjust traffic lights
Oh, yeah.
so that people
Yeah.
aren't getting stuck in traffic lights? Because
Absolutely.
I'm seeing that happen way more frequently since the Sherman Cut's been
Yeah,
closed.
so we have a protocol with specific to escarpment accesses that we monitor their closures very closely to make sure that we're not going to close, say, 2 escarpment accesses that are right next to each other because of the impacts. As a city that's divided by the escarpment, all those accesses are really critical. So whenever we shut down one of them, it's going to have a spillover effect to other.
Or if DeWitt
escarpment
chooses
accesses.
to have failure
Yeah,
at no
there's a rock
control,
slide
then now
on
you
DeWitt,
have multiple accesses.
Yeah, so it's really tricky, but I would say whenever we close one of the accesses, we're always going to have traffic-related issues. We do signal timing adjustments, we monitor it. The challenge that we have in traffic is one of technology, because now people can load something in their GPS and it can take them on a route that they would never ever imagine. As opposed to before that, you really stuck to routes that you only knew. So then it will send people in very weird locations that we would never envision. But we do monitor things, and we really appreciate feedback from residents too on telling us, hey, I see this happening, and then we'll make adjustments to it. We do have an automated or intelligent control system for the city's traffic signals that we can make adjustments without going out to the traffic signal. We can monitor some of them remotely and make some tweaks as well. But that's a tough one. Sherman Cut's a tough one to shut down.
Yeah. It needed it though, so
It did.
I very much appreciate that it's getting the attention it needs. Yeah.
But the traffic thing, I just want to say that everyone's completing a census. I wouldn't be surprised if the census is showing Hamilton's population being around 650,000 people. It wasn't that long ago that we were less than 500,000 or even 450,000. So that is, we're a growing city. We have a lot more cars on our roads than we did even 5 years ago. So that's another thing. We only own so many roads in the city. So that's where we're really promoting making sure people have alternative modes of transportation if they choose so, whether that's transit or biking or walking, that we're building infrastructure to support those multimodal methods of travel too.
How long is it gonna take to do Barton Street?
Barton Street? It's not my area. How long?
Engineering services, I heard the tender just closed, so it's going to be like Barton Street was partially reconstructed, and another section was repaved earlier this year. So now the one section is remaining is the tender is closed and it's under construction this year.
What about Aberdeen? #1 worst road in Canada.
Aberdeen is it's up for reconstruction beginning next year.
And they've started that calming thing where they've taken away that one.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was
I usually just say Hamilton roads are
Coming
bad.
from the mountain down, yeah.
really stupid. Like when you're trying to avoid Main Street to come back up the mountain, and you take Aberdeen, and it's down to 1 lane now because of the calming.
Yeah, I was in
areas.
charge of that project.
They are
so
not.
that's
Why
my
they call it
project.
calming?
Yeah, no, thank you.
That's my project. Yeah,
Insane.
but there is a lot of as much as Aberdeen is used as a commuter route,
Yes.
it's a neighborhood road too. So
I know it is.
there's a lot of people that live on Aberdeen
Right.
that are very happy with that because it's calming traffic.
Yeah,
We
but I'm going to interrupt you just for 1 second because I have a lot of clients that live in that neighborhood, and you know who's not happy is the people on South now, who for a very high tax bracket have had peace, quiet, and tranquility, and now everybody's
For traffic
avoiding
infiltration,
Aberdeen,
yeah.
and like
However-
South has turned into a complete nightmare.
However, last week it blew up, but on the same day we had the link, full closure of the link, collision on the 403, Main Street down to 1 lane because of an emergency repair to the sewer. So we get inundated with those saying Aberdeen is a big problem, but in the meantime we're trying to funnel hundreds of thousands of cars that can't go on normal roadways, and it really looks like there's a massive problem. But there is traffic infiltration in the neighborhood as part of that project, that's for sure. So we did complete a large Complete Streets project, and there's a number of Complete Streets related measures that we're trying to implement in the Ward 1.
Mr. What streets
I
in the
trust you.
Mountains are
I
gonna
don't
be
live
doing?
down there. I just know a lot of people that do.
Yeah.
My area?
Yeah, what streets are gonna be done?
Summer construction season.
The buses go here on the street. No more between Wentworth and
I don't work in transit. I unfortunately don't know any details about transit.
yesterday.
Yeah, I couldn't comment. I don't know.
Is that for James?
I have a question about with the increase in the cycling infrastructure. How are the police responding? Are they going to be increasing the patrols on bicycles?
Yeah, they'll have the option to deploy on bikes. We have bicycle trained officers, so I would say Action a number of years ago was disbanded and was staffing. Yeah, and that was our Action, and that's why, you know, the core officers that are down there right now, I believe they're primarily on foot, but I can't speak for Division 1. Up here again, Division 3, Division 2 are different geographically, you know. So those officers will be bike trained again. They may deploy in vehicles, they may deploy on bike depending on the needs of what their task is for that day. But I'm not going to have them bike out to Flamborough if there's a need out there. They'll have
The horses here.
Yeah, sorry, did I hear something about the equestrian being disbanded?
That's news to me.
I thought there was something about that.
I hope not. I like horses.
Yeah, well, you can like them, but if they're not being
Discussion beyond
utilized.
I got a horse myself, actually.
I just saw on our SharePoint they hired 2 more people. Well, not hired, but gave them mounted spots. So I didn't think
Okay.
they'd be disbanded if they just put 2 more people.
You guys are gonna start hating when you see my hand go up. Okay, so this is completely unrelated to traffic. What is actually being done about the increasing fentanyl problem that we do have in this city? Because it is starting to creep from usually those things kind of stay in the downtown core because that's where the social systems are, and it is starting to creep up here, creep into high schools. I have kids that are sampling things. They have access through things. I feel like that compartment is kind of something that is generally policed. And the introduction of carfentanil that's being laced into these drugs. I've heard stories where 3 Narcan kits are not doing it. CPR is having to be administered. And then people are then showing up and able to take over. So I know all of it isn't all of on you, but I do believe that drug dealers and that aspect of the whole thing is kind of the policing thing. Is there something that's being done? Is there an elevated level of concern within your side of things, or is it just sort of something that, and I don't know if everybody's observing this, I just know that it is a common observation from people.
I mean, it's something that we've always been concerned about. Fentanyl is illegal, right? And so we have officers, we have units that are, doing major drug investigations, and the good news stories are out there in the media, and the work's being done. It doesn't stop with a main release and a bunch of pictures of drugs and maybe a gun on the table, right? It continues, right?
Mm-hmm.
But obviously it's a problem that we're going to continue to need to work on. And
is it as bad as it seems?
I don't know if I can answer that.
Okay.
I don't know if I don't know if that's a yes or no. It is
I think
a problem.
not good.
Yeah, the problem comes in waves. You'll see where you'll have quite a few in a week or a weekend, and then maybe go a week or 2 and you don't hear any of them.
Okay.
And then
That's good to hear.
referrals, we see downtown or up here, even people that are obviously high or been using drugs, right? Is putting that person in jail a solution there? Or
No, not necessarily the
again, we
solution.
go back to working with partnerships and how to get that person the help that they need. And
No, I 100% agree with that. The person using the drugs is not.
well, you're talking about
I'm
the
talking
drug
about the
dealers
people
and,
that
yeah,
are
the work
the
that's happening
suppliers,
every
the
day.
people that seem to be living, sort of undetected, or they're contained, or they're found for a minute and then I know there was a massive bust on my street 3 blocks down. You guys even had drones out, and it was actually pretty impressive. The guy was caught. how long does it take before that activity is just sort of like recycled and up again? Like, is it a
We're
possibility
talking
for
about
you?
the education system and things that are bigger things today.
So it's just
right?
out,
So
yeah.
it's-
So there's basically, yeah.
In saying that though, we've seen a huge increase in our ability to be proactive because we have raised our minimums. So it's given us a lot of proactive time now,
Thank you.
which before we couldn't.
This
So that
is what I'm
proactive
looking
time
for.
does
I'm
allow us
sorry, Rob's better than
does allow us to work on those things. So
Thank
if they
you.
have it is investigated, yeah.
Yeah, like
A
it
lot
is
of times you
still,
won't see this when they're looking at the drug dealers and things like that. Like they might not have the uniform on, but we could be actively looking at something.
yeah, it's just good to know like something is like still sort of like being done because sometimes
And there's a
it
lot done.
seems a little bit
There's a lot done even after an overdose. We do look into all of those as well.
to
And
find
if we
the-
can get information on who's selling it, it's definitely something that is investigated.
Yeah.
A lot of times you don't see it. It's not won't be newsworthy all the time, so you're not actually seeing.
Well,
it.
no,
Yeah.
I wouldn't know carfentanil is a carfentanil if I didn't have a doctor who sits in
Yeah.
my chair who told me about carfentanil and how hard it is for them to fix the patients that are coming in with this.
Yeah, if they can be fixed, it's pretty easy.
It's pretty bad.
Anyways, it's about 20 after. Does anybody have any other question? Either traffic, from the staff from the city? Really appreciate my coming. Anybody, if everybody, I tried to do, I was going to say, the next one is July 21st. We're gonna have bylaw services there from the city. But bylaw, because a lot of people say, you know, in the middle of the night, my neighbor has music till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I can't call bylaw. So we could ask those kind of questions. When you can call bylaw, or what we could do about things like that. So that's July 21st. And then August 18th is my last one. It's my Casa Park. And we're just going to do the topic, what matters to you. So I'm going to be up around that area too. So you could take some of this. I also have fridge magnets. So with bylaw office, there's traffic operations center. All the numbers are here. So you're welcome to do it. Oh, and look at what we have. Can you explain what these are?
Sure,
for
in
everybody?
kind of layman's terms, because that's exactly where I am. But so we saw a trend, and actually, fortunately, looking at the stats recently, the trend of auto theft has gone down drastically over what it was last year when we saw people going up. You see surveillance video of people going up to a door and stealing a signal with a wire. There's videos when on a major auto theft project that was done in the city of kind of how it happened, right? So they go up and they would steal your signal from your key fob, and then they'd go, somebody be at the car and they would start your car, and then your car would be gone. Right? So as part of that, there was grant funding through the break-in auto and robbery unit. That's what these were purchased with that grant funding. Again, what they do is you put your key in there and it prevents the signal from being transmitted beyond the bag. So then, you know, it's another thing. I hate that we have to hand these out. I can't speak to the technology, how it works. I don't steal cars. But again, these are here. There's a box full of them if you have a need for them.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, everybody could have one.
You put your key in there at night, yeah. And again, fortunately, we've seen that trend go down. Whether, you know, maybe it, hopefully it stays that way, but we've got more to do.
I thought just keeping my key. I thought just keeping the key fob in the bedroom that the thieves can't get to it. I thought that was safe, but it's
Well,
electronic, right?
Again, beyond, I don't know how far the
Oh,
keys
my.
away. I don't know. Again, I can't speak. I'm not an expert in the technology. I don't know if that's the trend that we're seeing.
That's new.
We'll catch up and then they improve on what they can do. That's the problem.
Then the trend will change. Yeah, we would go to these meetings and we'd talk about what was old, what was new, and things like the club. You know, as a deterrent.
Can't be that lucky to have my car stolen.
When I started in this job, people were finding ways to defeat the club because that was the auto theft prevention kind of measure, right? But if you were going to steal the signal and you close the window of the car, you see a club there. Well, you came to defeat the signal and not necessarily the club. So just things like that in terms of crime prevention, we were encouraging.
Well, anyways, thank you. I really appreciate our crime manager. When when you guys email me if you have a problem, I call that right away.
I've got some cards too.
Oh, yeah. So if you need, there's some cards here. If you need them, I'll pass them out. And again, thank you for coming.
Yes.
And I really appreciate it because I know how busy you are. And so I appreciate it. And Mike Field, he's our director for traffic. So I have to admit, every time I call him, he's always there. And I really appreciate it. And matter of fact, he said, I'll come to your next meeting too, because he likes working together with the police.
Absolutely.
So I really, really appreciate your time.
The next one is where?
The next one, we're gonna give you this, July 21st, is bylaw. Bylaw. McWeston Park,
Okay, all right.
and then my casa, I'll give you,
Have you got them all together, the three
yeah,
on the sheet here?
yeah, I'll give you the, if you need for anything, get the prime manager, so if you want it, and then I will, so I have,
Everything that I
actually this,